We enter a promising new world, meet a bunch of exciting characters, and find ourselves at the edge of the seat at interval. And then boom, the film goes inexplicably downhill all the way south, losing its way halfway. I'm Sudhish Kamath. Welcome to Frequently Made Mistakes, the show that helps you unpack why some movies lose their way halfway. In this edition, we try to understand the second half meltdown, or what I call narrative displacement. When a story forgets what it tried to set out to resolve and drifts off course, diluting theme, meaning, and integrity. Our case study today is Idli Kadai, written and directed by Dhanush, that starts off like Swades meets Thevar Magan, a return to roots, non-violence, and peace, but resolves it all with one tight slap. Yeah, violence is bad, but beating your kids, apparently good parenting advice. Narrative displacement happens when the film's thematic conflict shifts midstream. You start off with one dramatic question, can compassion change a violent world, and then drift off into answering something else. How hard should you hit someone to teach them compassion, as in the case of Idli Kadai? Now that's not irony, that's confusion with good lighting. Aristotle called it the unity of action, that your story must pursue one clear line of inquiry from start to finish. Lahoz Egri refined it. He said, every story must prove or disprove a premise. When the premise changes, the story collapses because the emotional logic of the first half doesn't earn the payoff of the second. The audience may not be able to name it, but they feel it. The subtle wait what breaks the willing suspension of disbelief. Now let's talk about Idli Kadai. The first half, beautiful setup and world building. A boy leaves home and his father's Idli Kadai to become a successful caterer in Bangkok, all set to marry rich when both parents die. We feel his guilt, repression, and bottled up rage that surface only when provoked by violence. The character Murugan, played by writer-director Dhanush, begins to reflect on his father's path of non-violence. Can peace really survive in a world of aggression, he wonders, and that's what the film is trying to explore. So we think we are watching a moral inquiry, a film questioning the myth of macho heroism, and for a while it works. The tone is playful, self-aware, and even self-critical. Until somewhere along the midpoint, it forgets its own question. The film that was against violence now starts romanticizing the language of dominance. By the climax, it's literally clarifying that sometimes you need to beat your kid. When Satyaraj remembers the advice he got from the hero earlier in the film, that if you had given him one tight slap as a child, he wouldn't have turned out like this. And boom, the story displaces itself. We've shifted from moral introspection to moral justification. The message undercuts itself because what starts off as a critique of aggression now ends up endorsing it. Preaching ahimsa at Arua point. One tight slap reminding the brat that violence is not the answer. That's narrative displacement in action. Now let's look at films that got it right. Thevar Magan begins in the same terrain, generational violence, duty, legacy, but never strays from its core. Every beat, every death serves one truth, that power and violence, even when justified, consume what they touch. Or Swades, a story of belonging versus comfort. It never drifts into romance or politics, it stays rooted in one question. What do we owe the place that made us? And Anbe Sivam, a debate between idealism and cynicism, love as belief versus burden. The film stays loyal to that dialogue, its transformation feels earned because it grows from the same seed. Different conflicts, different worlds, but one common lesson, that when your core stays intact, the second half feels like resolution and not like reinvention. So how do you fix narrative displacement? By holding the unity of action that Aristotle spoke about. One clear line of inquiry from start to finish. By proving or disproving a single premise as Egri insisted and not start off with a new one halfway. Every subplot should serve the same moral question and every tonal shift should deepen the same emotional argument. Your climax should feel like the only possible ending to the film that started in Act 1. Not like a writer suddenly remembering to wrap things up. That's how you earn your ending, that's how you stay thematically anchored. Before you write a single scene, define your premise as a provable statement, Egri style. Something like compassion triumphs over violence or power corrupts even the purest idealist. Then make sure every character, subplot and twist tests that premise, not drifts into a new argument. If your protagonist begins with one belief and ends up challenging it, that's fine, that's growth. But if your story forgets the question it was asking, now that's narrative displacement. Here's a simple exercise. Write down your opening question in the film and your ending answer side by side. Now ask yourself, are they part of the same conversation? If not, you've displaced your narrative. Tighten the thread, make your ending feel like the inevitable conclusion of your beginning, not an argument with it. So start with clarity and end with integrity. A great film doesn't change its mind halfway. It evolves but along the same axis. Until next time, this is Sudhish Kamath signing off from Frequently Made Mistakes for The Hindu. And remember, the second half needs to be along that route that you promised to take them. Goodbye.
Unpacks.